So yeah, hi everyone. Warmest greetings from Berlin, Germany. My name's Paul. I work in the KNAUER marketing department. I'm here for problems, technical issues, and to have an eye on the chat. So if you have questions, please use the chat anytime, or you can raise your hand here in Teams and give me that signal, and we're gonna get to those questions later then. But you can use the chat anytime. I will tell our presenters afterwards. Our presenters today, as you see, is from our Applications and Academy department, Christine Vollmert, and from our product management, Matthias Grote. Both of them are fully vaccinated and were tested this morning, so that's why they sit in our KNAUER studio without a mask on. Yeah, so for your information. And uh, uh, the start will be made by our Deputy Head of Sales, Markus Fuchs. He's going to start in a bit. And yeah, and as I said, please give me a hand, raise your hand, or let me know in the chat if you have questions or if there should be like any technical issues. And yeah, I give the word to Markus. Have fun and see you later.
Yeah, hello everybody. This is KNAUER Berlin. Thanks, Paul, for the introduction, technical assistance. So, yeah, welcome to this webinar about ClarityChrom software. ClarityChrom is a very mature product that KNAUER is selling for many, many years now. It had several updates, and the special thing about this kind of software is you will find in there a tremendous amount of drivers. So this is really a user-friendly design that is not very often found in other softwares on the market. So that means when getting the ClarityChrom software, you in most cases you don't have to get any additional drivers, you just start. Yeah, I hope you are in a good mood. So everything is going to be more stable, at least in Europe at this moment. We hope that we all overcome the pandemic situation. And as Paul mentioned already, whenever you find some useful, you request some useful information, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat. So just text in the chat whatever you would like to know. Also, when the presentation is given, we will hurry up later on to answer these questions by our experts, Christine and Matthias. So can I ask the referees, please, to start with their presentation?
Yes, thank you, Markus. The presentation is going to start in a bit. And yeah, I hope you all enjoy it.
Today in the lab we have our Azure HPLC system consisting of a high-pressure gradient pump P6.1L and a diode array detector which can measure from 190 to 1000 nanometer, the DAD 6.1L, and a autosampler which can be cooled and heated in the tray, the AS 6.1L, and a column thermostat, the CT 2.1. To control our instrument, we have to start first ClarityChrom, and then this little control window opens. And here on the left side, there's an icon for the configuration. And if I click this, you can see here on the right side that we already prepared some modules. So you can see on the right side, there's the already configured instrument parts. And to add another one, I click here on Add. And then you can search for the instrument which you would like to include. Because I have a DAD 6.1L from KNAUER, I'm using this instrument. With double click, you come to the control panel, and then you have the nice option with these 3 little dots to automatically search for the serial number. You can see what happens here now. So I choose it and select, and now it's saved. On the left side, you have the possibility to choose for a flow cell. Today I'm using a 10 millimeter and 10 microliter flow cell. And here you have the opportunity to choose the number of channels which you want to use, and today I have 2. It's okay, it's saved again. But you can see here you still can't include the instrument because it's still gray. And this is because I have to choose here that I'm having a PDA included. You need an extra license for that. And now you can add the DAD to the whole instrument. Now here on the bottom you have the possibility to decide which instrument is the one which can start a 1 in the sequence or in the method. We are using the autosampler. With OK, the instrument configuration is saved. Now you can log in into the instrument. Here you have the possibility to decide which user is using the instrument. And you can also give the user rights. And you can also choose a project in which folders everything will be saved which you're doing with the software. And here you also have the possibility to start a new project, which we can see after Clarity opens. So now all the connections to the instruments are done by the software, and that always takes a little bit. Now you can see here that you can just include a name for your project. Today I'm using the project webinar ClarityChrom. The first window which arrives now is this instrument control window, where we have all these little panels which are just obvious for what we want to do with them. The first one is the method setup, and then we have the chance to directly start a single or a sequence one. We have the device monitor for the control of the instrument. Next to it we have the data acquisition window, where we can see what happens just right now on our instrument. We have the chromatogram window, which is for the analysis of previous ones, and you have a calibration window for calibrations. What I now want to do is the device monitor, to open the device monitor and do the direct control of our instrument. You can see here a panel for each of our modules. The first one is the pump, and you can see that everything which you want to know about your model is already written here, and you have the chance to, for example, put in a flow and a position of the gradient and a maximum pressure, 200 bar, and apply. What will you see now is that here the flow starts, and you can directly see the pressure, and on the left side the percentages of the solvents. You have the chance here to decide between the solvent channels. You have 2 possibilities for each channel. You can put in a temperature for the tray of the autosampler, 20 degrees now. When I put set, then I can hear next to me that the cooling of the autosampler starts. In the DAD detector you can see which valve lengths are chosen for the DAD. They are none now because I didn't send a method. You can see here that the deuterium lamp is already running, but the halogen lamp was not, and I did switch it on, and then it turns into green. For the column thermostat I can also add a temperature. I'm using the room temperature and apply, and now I can hear next to me that the thermostat starts. On the right side you have these little clocks here, which are orange right now. That means that there's no method loaded yet. And if I would now send a method, then they would turn into green. If there's a problem with our instrument or with one of the modules, then the clock for the certain module would turn into red.
If the method setup is opened, you can find on the top that this is a new method with all the default settings, because it is no name, it is not stored with any name. On the top you also have the button for new method, open an existing method, save or save the existing method with a new name. On the bottom we have different tabs for setting up our devices and also additional settings as an integration. We're currently on a measurement tab, that is for some general settings. We can enter here a method description that describes our method with some additional information. This will not influence the instrument control, it is just for information. On the right side, there is a very important setting, the enable auto stop. If this checkbox is enabled, we can enter a runtime. That is mandatory for our HPLC runs. The runtime is the data acquisition time for all configured detectors. Today our application has a 5-minute runtime, so we enter here 5 minutes as a runtime. The external stop option selects that a start signal should receive to start a run. Without this setting, no sequence can be started. Start only and down are the start settings required for KNAUER devices, so this default setting is fine for our devices. The first device I want to set up now is the autosampler. That is, I guess, the most complex device here. We have 5 different subtypes. 3 of them are required for the default settings. The tray tab, here we define the installed tray. Make sure that it is a correct tray, otherwise your needle may be damaged. We have a 108 watt tray here. This covers both sides. You can also have half-size trays, so they are installed either on left or right side. And these half-size trays also can be combined as here now you can see with the 48 and the 96 watt trays. We have the 108 watt tray, so we'll leave it with that tray. So that is fine for our application. The system settings, you see other installed hardware. So one is syringe volume and one is loop volume. Here we have a 250 microliter syringe and a 100 microliter loop. The tubing volume is the volume of the injection needle. It's 15 microliter. And you can also set up the syringe speed and the needle height that might be required for some special vials. In the mode, time and temperature tab, we can select our injection mode. We will today use a partial loop fill injection mode. So if selected, then you can set up the flush volume. This is a volume the autosampler will use to flush the injection system with sample. Our injection needle is 50 microliter, recommended twice as much should be used to flush, so 30 microliter flush volume is fine. The analysis time is the runtime of the autosampler. It should be less or smaller than our runtime. So 1 minute is fine. You can set up a wash program, and if the autosampler is equipped with a tray cooling, you can enter here the desired tray temperature. The preparative mode is only for special equipped preparative autosamplers, so we don't need that today. The next is the LC gradient tab. LC gradient tab allows us to set up our solvent pump. We have a HPG pump with 2 pump heads, so we have A and B. The first line here is the initial line, which is a start line in our program. And what we can do here is program A, and the rest of the expected 100% is automatically added to the B line, and we enter the flow rate. So now I program here our gradient table. We start with 25% water and 75% acetonitrile. We hold it for a smaller time, and then we run a linear gradient up to 100% acetonitrile, which will reach at 2.9 minutes. And then we will switch back to the starting conditions. So that is our pump gradient. We define A, B will fill it automatically. And below that we have a graphics. The graphics shows us what we have programmed in the table. Yeah, we see here blue is B, and we can see what we have programmed. The idle state defines what will do the pump if no run is performed. So initial is the start line, and it is also the default setting. In the options menu, you can set up the minimum maximum pressure, and you can also name your solvents if you want to do that. The LC tab allows to set up which solvent we want to use. That means we can select the position of the solvent selection valves. The solvent properties, we can set up the compressibility factor for our solvents. For pump head A, it is for water, acetonitrile for pump head B, always for position 1 of the solvent selection valve. We switch to the acquisition tab to set up our detector. We have a diode array detector with 2 channels. The channels we can select here in the drop-down menu to set up them separately. On the left, the acquisition settings are settings for the whole detector, means for all channels. So we will set up the sampling rate, 10 Hertz, means 10 data points per second. Time constant will be set automatically to a suitable value. The wavelengths for our first channel is set to 254 nanometers. That is fine for our application. We set the second channel to 630 nanometers, where we expect some impurities. We want to see if they are in our sample or not. In Advanced tab, we can set the reference correction, and since we don't need that automatically enabled for channel 2, we disable it here. On the PDA tab, we can set up the scan range. That means the range for our 3D data that will be acquired beside the separate channels. We will acquire data between 200 and 700 nanometers. So that is why we enter here now from 200 to 700. The detector can acquire from 190 to 1000 nanometers. The thermostat setup allows us to set up the temperature for our column oven. So we want to have 25 nanometers. That means at room temperature. So that's fine. No program needed. That's all for our devices. What we have is this tab Advanced. Here we can set up auxiliary signals to be acquired in a chromatogram, and we strongly recommend to enable the pump pressure trace, because in case of any problem with our run, the pump pressure really is a good indicator to show us what might be wrong with our system. So now everything is fine, and we can store our method. So click the Save button, and the software will open the path we have defined with our new project. We enter the name, it's webinar 1, and then click the save button or OK button here, and the message is stored, and you will see that on the top. Yes, that is the name. And on the button you can see that now the send message button becomes active, and if we click it, then all our message settings will be sent to the devices, and the devices will take over the settings, and the pump will start with the initial line, same as a column thermostat and the tray temperature. Okay, we can see that now in the device monitor, so all the devices now have received our message settings, and the status icon now is green, and we see for the tray temperature what have sent the flow. Here you see the total or the flow in milliliters per minute. If you want to switch to percentage for the gradient composition, you can do that here. Okay, that's for our method setup here.
After I made all the settings for my device, I would like to start an analysis. I could now use a single one, clicking here on the single bottle, and then I could type in here a file name. I could either directly type in, or I can use with this little arrow predefined increments. For example, the project name, the method name, the sample ID, or whatever. Here I can browse for the method. Automatically the last modified method is inserted here. I can also put in a report template if I want. If I activate here the auto sampler, I can define the while position. Before I start my single one here, I can send the method to equilibrate the column. Of course, I have to add the injection volume first, and now I could start the single one. But because I would like to show the other possibility as well, I'm now cancelling. I would like to show you the possibility of a sequence one. You can see here that there's one row which is not filled already. But if I click here 1, then you can see that there are already something filled inside. I can define this starting while, the end while, the number of runs per valve. Then I can type in a sample ID name, webinar again. I could define here the concentration of a standard, the dilution, of course, the injection volume again. And then just like the single one, I can put in a file name. I can type in or choose increments. I always like to use date and time, because then nothing can be overwritten. Now I have to put in a method. I'm browsing for it. Here's our webinar method. I could also put in a template for a report if I want to, and I can click whether it automatically opens after the run is complete. Same is true for the calibration window, which could be automatically opened after the run is complete. To enter a second row, I'm just putting in here something in one of the text fields. And then the next line is filled in automatically, and I can just change whatever I want to. I have different possibilities to now start my sequence. I can either directly start it, or I can do the resume when I'm using an old sequence. First I have to save, of course, the new sequence name. Now I'm starting my sequence. As you can see, the first row now turned into orange. That means that this one is now sent to the instrument. In the second row, You can see here it's green, meaning that this one will be the next one. I also have the possibility to abort my sequence if it's necessary. But now let's go into acquisition, because we would like to see what's happening. Here you can see the acquisition window. In green and yellow you can see the gradient which we programmed before. On the left button side you can see the chromatogram running already. On the left side you can see the absorbance in milliAU, and on the bottom the time in minutes. In the instrument window you can see how many minutes my run was already proceed, and you also have the possibility to abort the whole instrument or just the sequence. Going back to the acquisition window, you can see that we already have a peak. We could set a background chromatogram, but unfortunately we don't have one in the background. Upside here you can see that you have the possibility for a direct shortcut to other possibilities in the sequence, like single run, sequence run, the calibration, or also the chromatogram window. Meaning, while the sequence is running, I can still make changes in the sequence. I just have to save. There's a first peak coming. And because I can never wait for the analysis, I have the possibility to take a little snapshot here. And then I can directly go into the chromatogram window and check out my peak, how it looks like, and I can do all of the analysis which I would like to do. But going back to the chromatogram instrument window, I can also go this pathway here to the instrument window to check out my peak. And I would even have the possibility to check out the PDA already. Going back to my acquisition, we already have 3 peaks now. So because we don't want to wait, we are running it a bit faster, and you can see 6 peaks. Just doing it a bit faster again, because we have 2 runs in our sequence. Nice.
Okay, we open the chromatogram window. The chromatogram window shows the last opened or last acquired chromatogram. The upper part shows all the traces acquired with the chromatogram. We have a table part, and we have a part for the calculation for the calibration file. Here we see all the traces, 2 detector traces and 1 pressure trace. Okay, we can switch between the detector traces. We have 2 different colors. We can select here the traces with a color button. The red one now is highlighted, and also the table below easily find out that this belongs to the red line or the red trace because of the red headline. So I want to work now with the blue because that is our important measurement wavelengths. I see on the beginning there are some small impurities I want to remove. What options I have? One is to set the minimal area. That means all peaks that are smaller than a defined area will be removed. If I select this option, I first need to select start and stop for this operation. Start and stop. I see from the time range here, and now I have to select the value. If I have a look at the result table, value of 150 for the area should be fine to remove these impurities. Okay, I will enter 150, click OK, and immediately the peaks has been removed. There is no analyze button. As soon as the operation is finished, the chromatogram will be recalculated. I don't need to click analyze. If I have a look at the integration table, I see this new chromatogram operation minimum area with time start stop and the value I have entered. What other option I have to remove a peak? I can also lock the baseline, a baseline segment here. So I click start and stop, and within this area all peaks will be removed. That means the automatic integration will be stopped here. So I have also this in my table, baseline log, without a value, because all peaks independently on any property besides the retention time will be removed. What I can also do is I can work directly on a peak. So if I'm not happy with the start and stop of this peak, then I can shift peak start and peak stop. Here, start from here to here, just click and start is shifted. Same with the end of the peak, and again peak start stop is in the table. I can also add manually a peak, so I will do that with the peak I have removed by locking the baseline, because this will only stop automatic integration. So I can add here a positive peak, click start and stop, and automatically this peak appears here in my table. Okay, I have all this done only for the blue trace. Yeah, if I switch to the red one, I can see that here is no entry because I only have worked with the blue one. Okay, what else I can do? You remember we have also acquired 3D data, spectra over the whole run, and this can be found in a separate window. We have here the isoplot, upper left. Below that is a chromatogram window, on the right a spectral view, and we have the 3D view. What I can do if I move here the lines, then below I can see the chromatogram on the selected wavelengths. Yeah, I switch through the wavelengths of the whole run, so I can find where is the highest absorption. The other one I can put on one special retention time point, and I can see here the spectrum of one of the substances. Here in the beginning we have the impurity. I can check what is the highest absorption. So I have acquired 630, and that seems, yeah, that might be fine. And if I want to see the spectrum of it, then here's a spectrum. I want to move that to the desired impurity, so I move that to here, and I see, okay, yeah, the maximum is around 630. Okay. For the proper calculation, we select our prepaid calibration file, and now calculation is done with this information as compound name and the amount.
After I edited now my chromatogram, of course I would like to export it. Therefore I have different possibilities. I can either copy the clipboard, that's something like Ctrl-C of the picture. I also have the possibility to export the chromatogram as an ASCII or CDF, for example. And I have the possibility to export all my data. Here I can do a choice, and then I can decide whether I would like to export for text file or Excel, for example. Putting in here a data press, and then I would go to export and it would be exported. The other possibility I would like to show you is the possibility to write a report template. As you will see, it's quite easy with ClarityChrom. The most important button is here the preview button, where you can see the preview of how your template would look like. And what I'm now doing is that I'm just removing everything I don't want to see in my report because it's not important for me. You can see that you have a lot of different possibilities which you could include, but I would like to have it nice and short. I type in here KNAUER and webinar in the headline of my report. I would also have the possibility to add here some rows, and of course I can change the color and the size of the writing, and I have the possibility to include pictures. For my chromatogram, I have the possibility whether I would like to see my zoom of my chromatogram or the whole chromatogram. And I can also decide whether I would like to see just the active chromatogram or the complete overlay of different chromatograms. After I edited my chromatogram, I have a result table, and just in the case how it looks like in the window in the background, which you can see, I can now also include this result table into my template. Let's go back to the preview maybe. And now you can see here that I have a nice chromatogram overlay. I have all the information about the result table. And I have the possibility to directly print to the print with a printer or as PDF. A nice option is to now save this template. I'm going therefore for save as, giving it a name. And then I can later use this template in every single one which I'm doing, and also in a sequence. So I don't have to modify my template and my report every time I'm doing an analysis. I can just use my predefined template. So thank you for listening. That was our presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Paul, you are still muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you too for your presentation. The two presenters recorded this to keep it in a certain compact format, but Matthias has a demo version of Clarity on his laptop, so if you have questions, we can dive into it live. We have a couple of questions in the chat, and as I said, please raise your hand if you want to say something and get to the presenters directly. Ready to start? We're going to start from the beginning, I guess. First question. First question. Can I extend my sequence while it is running?
Okay.
Yes, you can extend it. Maybe Matthias can show it on a screen.
It's a bit it's a bit tricky here because in Teams we have a little problem sharing okay. I need to share the monitor. When you have tried that before, then it worked.
So maybe I can just explain why you try to show it. First question can be answered quite easily. Yes, you can extend your sequence while it's running. You just can add another row underneath so already proceeded runs. And then very important is that you have to save the sequence, and then it's automatically added. Yeah.
All right, I guess that will do for that question. Heading to the next one. Let me have a look. The next one. Are there automatic evaluation algorithms so I can so I do not have to evaluate everything by hand?
That's a very good question. Yes, there are algorithms. Yeah. Did you manage? I would like to show. So you have two algorithms which can be used in Clarity. And you find them in the chromatogram window. And when you want to evaluate your one, then here next to the result table, there's a possibility integration algorithm. And there you have for default the 8.0 algorithm, and there's another one which is called experimental, which is quite good if you have shoulders or negative peaks for RI detection, for example. So you can use both and just see what works best for you. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
All right, thank you. Next one, Matthias, can you say again where to change from flow to percentage in the status view? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. I can share that. I must share again. Okay, back to the device monitor. Here on the top, we have the LC monitor, and to change here the flow from milliliter per minute to percentage, click on View, and there then component flow in percent. So, and then you can see the flow in percentage. So that's quite easy, but you must find it.
Thank you for that. Next one, how many chromatograms can I export at the same time?
Yeah, how many chromatograms can you measure? I would say so. I wouldn't say there's a maximum number. And can you show how to do it? So there's a possibility to do a batch export. So you can export, I don't know. The maximum I did was 50, but I'm sure you can do much more. So Matthias also tries to share the picture.
So try to share. Okay, so
it, yeah.
yes, now it's fine.
And yeah, you can also explain it.
Yeah, sure.
So here, every chromatogram you did measure in the folder, you can choose here for them. Here. And you can click what you want to export and which kind of file. Yeah, so you just proceed. And everything is exported into the data file where you also saved your chromatograms before. Does this answer the question?
I hope so. Otherwise, dear Olaf, get back to us. And next one, can the gray frame around the chromatogram in the report be edited?
What was the question?
The gray frame around the chromatogram, can that be edited?
That's a pretty good question. You mean this gray?
I guess this means no. The point is that in the report, the chromatogram sign or chromatogram display depends on the chromatogram window. So whatever we see in the report as a chromatogram, that refers to the chromatogram window. So if there is a gray if that's gray, then it's also gray in the printout. So I never tried to to
I also
change
never
that.
tried. I'm just checking out whether it's possible. I doubt it's not. No.
I know how to change the background, the chromatogram, but I never tried to.
Yeah, you can change the color of the background, but I don't think you can change the color of the surrounding of the chromatogram because it's here. And you do like a snapshot of this photo. I don't think it's possible. Sorry.
Might be something for the next version, but we'll definitely get back to you, Olaf, if we have news on that. So Edgar asks, normally when a system is sold, we must consider a software training for the customer. How long do you consider we must invest for the first time in order to the client has minimum knowledge to start working by himself?
Okay, our today's webinar video has 33 minutes. So that really depends on what the customer has for knowledge in chromatography software, but you have seen the main points in software you can show in just half an hour.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what the customer wants to do. But in principle, you need to show them how to create a method and a sequence, and how to analyze the chromatogram and do a report. So I guess for the first most important points, configuration is not really required. That is something you have to set up. I guess half an hour might be fine. So
maybe add another 10 for calibration if it's necessary.
Sure, yes. Calibration we did not show here. We just focus on the first result. We have an in-house training for customers for 2 days. So, but that also shows some, or is a deeper view into the software, and also explains a lot of details in all of these windows and setups and so on. So, but I guess to start with the first runs and see how it works and find out more by themselves, I guess half an hour or maybe 1 hour, so that the customer can also try by themselves, should be fine. That okay, that is our meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess
Awesome.
that totally depends. Thank you. Next one, how do I store a calibration or integration in the method?
Yeah, I can also maybe show it because it's still open.
Yes.
So I'm closing here. Yep. So I'm now in the method window, and as you can see here, whoop, I have the folder integration, and here I can just add all my integration information, which I also proceeded for before during my evaluation of my results, and then it will automatically proceed it during the sequence for my runs. If I have a calculation file, then I have here the possibility to include it. It's not possible, but I could now set and just add a calibration, and then also it will be automatically proceeded during my sequence.
You store that with a method, and
you store it with a method, yeah.
And all new chromatograms acquired with a method will be calculated using this information.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please tell about the connection with the fluorescence detector.
I guess you refer to the RF20A or AXS from Shimadzu. Yeah, there are two options we have here. One is a driver written by Data Apex, which refers to the RF10 module line, because for the later modules, Shimadzu didn't release some documents on how they communicate. So in this case, you can connect the devices to the CBM, which is supported, the very old one, the 10 from that R10 line. Our driver can use the RS232 port of the detector. That is a driver we wrote with some knowledge of the RS232 protocol from the previous device, and this also works with the RF20 model. The connection is a bit tricky because this device needs a really stable connection. And as we found, and you can also find that in our documentation, a lot of additional communication ports are not accepted, so you can't get any communication. It is important that the settings for the RS232 port, we recommend an onboard. A lot of computer mainboards have an onboard COM port, but you can also add one with a PCI extension card or a PCI Express extension card. That the settings in the detector and in the driver are the same. So, and then that should not be a problem. We also have a USB to COM single device connector that also can be used. We have tested that successfully, so that can also be used for computers that do not have an COM port or have no PCI Express slot as laptops. In general, the RS232 connection is limited. That is a limitation by the implementation of RS232 communication by Shimadzu in the detector. So the data rate is limited to 5 Hertz, and also the firmware only allows for one channel. You know, the detector has 2 channels that can't be used using this protocol. Okay, I hope this answers the question.
This is the last one. So guys, you're almost done, doing a great job. Is there any plan by Data Apex to improve the way you generate a report? I mean, to be more versatile, personalized, like in OpenLab. Sorry.
A nice question. Currently, there is no plan to do that. The point is that they improve the report so that it is with the next with the overnext version, it is possible for the method setup that we have more options, not to show the complete method, but also for several or for some desired settings. The report setup is a bit different than to other software. As I already mentioned, the chromatogram we can add here has not an own setup in the report setup, but refers to the chromatogram window. And as far as I know, it is not planned to change that, because that would be a big change in the software. Yeah, I guess it would take a year or two, and currently they don't focus on that.
All right, thank you. That was the last question, but we have one information. Farok, thanks so much. He's referring to the gray frame, and he writes, To modify the gray frame, you have to go to Property, right-click from the chromatogram window, and change the color of border on the graph menu. It is on the bottom right side. Thank you for that information.
Okay, thanks a lot for helping us.
Thanks for helping. And yeah, those were the questions. Thanks a lot, everyone, for being with us. Markus, I guess you want to add something maybe? We were very happy that you were with us today. And I hope you enjoyed our session.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the session. It was in some parts very much in detail. Wow, gray frame could be changed maybe to red or blue. So that gives a new thing to it. So maybe important to mention, this is a full CFR 21 Part 11 software. So if you have ClarityChrom, you will certainly enjoy a very modern HPLC and very user-friendly. You can add some other modules as explained in detail with the fluorescence detector, but there are much more. So enjoy your day, and we hope to see you soon again. Bye from Berlin, Germany.
Thanks, everyone, and get in touch with us. I'm just posting in the chat 2 email addresses if you want to contact us. Yeah, feel free to contact us at any time. Get in touch with us. Thanks a lot. There will be a recording of today, of course, which you all going to get via mail. So you can have a look at that whenever you want. Have a great day. Hope you're all safe and well, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.